Good deal. Yeah, I think I'm going to confess right now, Justin. I grew up around the sport.
Yep.
And my dad was a huge Bill Elliott fan growing up. Awesome Bill from Dawsonville. And so I grew up around it, followed it with him for a little bit. And then, I don't know, for whatever reason, drifted away because I think your dad is into something. You're like, I'm not going to be part of that.
Yep.
In my 30s, came back to it, kind of had a group of buddies that we paid a lot of attention. Then just life and kids and stuff like that, drifted back away. I've recently come back to it, and I've been struggling to pick my driver. And I made
help you with that.
I maybe made a rash decision and went Austin Dillon.
Yep.
On
and
eBay.
Now,
on eBay.
And listen, I'm gonna say I don't know Austin Dillon. I've never met him in my life. Could be the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah.
I feel like I may have made a mistake.
No, Austin's great. I don't know if you can go wrong. I mean, it's a good group of guys right now. I mean, it's a very dynamic environment, a lot of strong personalities. So it's a good time to be a fan.
Well, okay. Well, let's talk about that here in a minute. But I want to intro you real quick. You're a husband. You're a father of 2 girls. California transplant, now calling Middle Tennessee home. Founder and CEO of Trackhouse Entertainment Group, which is home to Trackhouse Racing, which I would consider, and I'm not blowing smoke, to be one of the more innovative NASCAR Cup teams I've seen in a long time. And so we're excited to have you. Welcome, Justin Marks, to the podcast here.
Thank you.
You moved to Nashville in 2020?
2020, right in the middle of COVID.
Okay, and started Trackhouse same year.
Yep.
I feel like everybody on the planet who's involved in NASCAR lives in North Carolina.
Yep.
What made you pick Middle Tennessee?
Well, I was in North Carolina for 13 years. I was a California transplant, but I was born in St. Louis, Missouri. Moved to California when I was 10 years old. Grew up high school, college in California, and then I was racing professionally. So I moved to North Carolina from California right after college, and spent a huge amount of my formative years in North Carolina. Got married there, had kids there, started some businesses, raced, did all that stuff, and then was kind of in this like transitional period of my life where I was trying to sort of figure out, my racing career was winding down. I was trying to figure out what was next. My college buddies were all raising families in California. And I told my wife, I'm like, let's go to California, kind of figure out what's next and sort of like hit the reset switch on our life. So we went to California in like 2017 or 18. And I always wanted to be involved in the business side of the sport. Like I wanted to own a team at the top level of the sport, but it just was so hard to get in.
Yeah.
I mean, the barrier of entry was so high. These guys were like spending just so much money, and it just felt out of reach. But as soon as I got to California and got settled out there, NASCAR came to me, and because they knew that I wanted to do this, it came to me and said, "Hey, we're going to go to this whole new model, this new car, everything." And so like we hadn't basically unpacked our last box in California, and I went to my wife and I was like, I think we got to go back. I think we got to go back because this is an opportunity to start this business I've always dreamt of starting. And I was talking to my wife about like the DNA and sort of what I wanted this business to be. And to her credit, she was like, we should go to Nashville because, you're talking about brand, you're talking about entertainment, you're talking about winding all these other elements into the race team.
Smart woman.
Gotta
marry
and
a smart woman.
I was thinking about it,
man.
and I was like, you're right. Like let's go, learn about Nashville, see if that's a place to set up the business, and we did. I mean, just I had some friends here, and I'd spent a lot of time in Nashville just with other businesses that I've been involved in. And if you're going to start an entertainment business, and if you're going to start investing in sports and entertainment and build this sort of live experience type brand, there's almost no better place in America to do it than Nashville, Tennessee. So we came out here. We spent a couple of days driving around, looking at schools, looking at houses, all that. Went back to California, and then we ended up basically buying a house here, sight unseen, and put everything back in the boxes and came to Nashville. Apparently, some of the only people from California that moved to Nashville at that time. That's a joke.
Yeah, well, but I don't count him as a true Californian.
No, I agree. I agree.
I mean,
knowing that,
St. Louis roots via California, North Carolina,
And those
back to
formidable
California.
years in North Carolina.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, what's interesting is, I told my wife, I'm like, I want to go back home. I want to go back home for this reset switch. And we went back to California. But the thing is that like I'd married a girl from Athens, Georgia, and
Go Dogs.
we'd had kids in North Carolina, and I'd spent so much of my life there that
Yeah.
when I got to California for the second time there in 2017 or 18, I was like, no, home's back there.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, home's back there.
Amen.
So,
Mhm.
yeah.
When you started Trackhouse, like obviously hearing that NASCAR had reached out to you, you knew kind of the huge barrier to entry before that call came or before that conversation came. But I am curious, like when you entered the sport, I look around, I think about that time you have, Hendricks, obviously. You have these what I think of as like titans or
Yep.
legends of the sport. Joe Gibbs Racing, Penske. I
Yep.
mean, to maybe I don't want to say a dwindling degree, Richard Childress Racing.
Yep.
But you have these kind of titans and legends. And then you have these other teams that are smaller that I'm sure there's a lot of heart and soul in what they do. But just from a fan's perspective, I look at them, I go, golly, it's so hard to compete for them.
Mhm.
What did you see in that moment that you're like, okay, there's a fresh opportunity here for me to do something different than what's currently
Well, there
happening?
were two things. One was the fact that those established owners that you just mentioned are getting to the end of their careers. I mean,
Mm.
they're all starting to age out, and we didn't really know what the succession plan was for them. Like, what's next after Joe Gibbs isn't involved in his team anymore, or Roger Penske, or Rick Hendrick. And so I recognized that there was this inflection point that was coming on the horizon in the sport, where there was going to be a lot of opportunity open to new, young, sort of dynamic ownership that started thinking about NASCAR not as kind of a fun hobby business for like a billionaire
Yeah.
billion-dollar
Yeah.
company that I've got on the side or whatever, but actually like a real sports property
Mhm.
where we can be a part of the conversation with what's happening in sports investment and media and all these things happening right now. The other piece of it was this new car they went to. So, for the history of NASCAR, the teams basically were designing these cars,
Yeah.
and they were, like I raced for Chip Ganassi. I raced for Chip Ganassi Racing, and I remember being in that building going like, this is not a sports team. Like, this is an engineering and manufacturing company.
Hmm.
And they were designing the chassis and they were building them. And if some geometry didn't work, they'd throw it away.
Because they're wanting
So-
to find that edge, right?
Yeah, exactly,
yeah.
exactly. But the new car was the moment for me, because the new car is, for the first time in the history of the sport, we're not designing anything, we're not building anything. We're basically all buying the parts and pieces for the cars from the same companies and putting them together and going to the racetrack. And
Yeah.
I looked at that and went like, if we're all going to basically be racing with the same car, then I'll bet on myself to put a great team together, and hopefully that can be the opportunity for us to break through and be successful.
So from the guy who is like the newbie here, that sounds like a huge deal.
Oh,
Massive.
What happened?
huge is not.
Not even big enough. I mean,
Well, I'm
so let
curious,
me
yeah.
get this straight. They standardized.
I
The
mean,
parts,
so they
pieces.
don't want us to use the word kit car, but basically, we don't build anything or design anything on the cars. Everybody buys their chassis from Technique, the
Okay.
company. Everyone buys the
Okay.
bodies from 5 Star and from Fiberworks, and everybody buys the brakes from the same company.
And
all
this came
stuff. So-
down from NASCAR.
from NASCAR, because they recognized that the sport was what I say is it was becoming an OEM arms race. It was becoming an arms race between Chevy, Toyota, and Ford.
Okay.
And they were spending so much money, sponsorship wasn't really able to cover the bill anymore. And they wanted to create this opportunity where the door was open for new teams to come in and be able to
Yeah.
be successful.
Level the playing ground.
Level the
Yeah,
playing
yeah,
field for
yeah.
sure. So
And that's the first time ever that's happened. The sport
it's
has
the
just
first
grown
time it's
to
ever
that
happened.
point
And
where they had to do something.
right. So like the analogy that I use is, imagine all the NFL football teams being able to design and engineer their own footballs, and they design and engineer them based on the size of Tom Brady's hands and like his throwing mechanics and all that kind of stuff. Now imagine the Patriots having way more money than the Titans, and the Titans can't afford to do that, so they just buy old balls or they go buy them at
That's
Dick's Sporting Goods.
a
or whatever.
great analogy.
Now we're all playing with the
He's
same
speaking
ball.
to me now.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we're all playing with the same
We're
ball.
bringing the cookies.
Imagine
down
you
to
could
the bottom of the
deflate
shelf.
deflate a football.
I don't. I've never heard of anybody doing that.
Well,
before.
I mean, it's funny you say that, because it's like that if that technology cost a lot of money to do, and you've got some teams that can afford that and some teams
Then
that
they're just
can't,
never going to be
then
able to
there's not
compete.
like parity anymore. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That is fascinating.
So
What
the
year was
first year,
that?
so they introduced the car in 2022, and in 2022 there were like 19 different winners. Like 19 different drivers won a race in
And that's rare.
2022. Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
unheard
it's
of.
The
usually
years,
10 or
well,
11.
So that to me kind of flows into a little bit. I want to talk about kind of the current state of NASCAR. You know, I think about the Richard Pettys of the world. You know, I feel like when Richard Petty won 7, people went, well, there will never be another Richard Petty. There will never be another King. Then you have Dale Earnhardt Sr. does it. Well, there's never going to be another Richard Petty or Dale Sr. And then you got Jimmy Johnson in that 48 Hendricks car. But honest to God, today I go of the veterans who are still very strong. You know, the Joey Logano's, the Denny Hamlins. They're not going to win 7 championships.
No, I don't think you can do it anymore.
No, is there. You don't think it can ever be done again with this new car?
I don't think the stats. I don't think the stats from the 70s and 80s and 90s will be matched anymore.
Yeah.
It's so competitive, and it's, you know, we're qualifying all 36 cars within 0.5 of a second,
Yeah.
and we've got late race restarts, and now with the playoff system and the one race at the end to crown the champion, you know, it's not. It's just, I don't think it's ever going to happen again. So you have to think about, like, what is the new benchmark?
Yeah.
You know, and to me, you know, Joey Logano's doing it. I mean, you know, look, we've raced this next gen car for 3 years. Joey Logano's won the championship twice. I mean, but it's a totally new kind of thing that you have to do. It's different than what Jimmy and Dale and Richard did back in the day.
Yeah. So, okay, that kind of makes me think about Connor Zilic a little bit, because I look at what he's done in the Xfinity this year, and he just turned 19.
Yeah.
Okay, I would use the word phenom
Yeah.
when talking about this kid. And I know he's getting bumped up next year to a Cup car full time with you guys.
Yep.
A couple of things come to mind as we're thinking about that. First of all, I want to know, because I know you love Daniel Suarez. I know first car you ever launched with.
Yep.
I think he's got an incredible story about how he came. You know, an unbelievable story. How difficult was it for you to make that decision? But then also, is there any chance that Connor could be that guy that wins 7, 8, 9 races and a string of championships?
Well, the first part of your question is you know, very difficult.
Yeah.
You know, I care deeply about my people, all of my people, and when we have to make changes, I'm not one of those executives that can go, all right, we need to move on from these 4 people, like, and be very like non-emotional about it. Just go like it's business or whatever. So for me, I mean, I care about these people. Daniel, look, when we called Daniel when we were starting this race team, you know, he was one of the first people that I called, and was like, you know, he agreed to race for us when we didn't really have a team put together yet. I mean, he didn't really know how we were going to do it. He trusted in us. And, you know, we've had a great run. We've won a couple races together. He's had the best points finishes in his career with us. Great story, great human being. We've put together some awesome sponsorship programs around him. You know, we grew one of his sponsors, Freeway Insurance, that was like a $50,000 a year PSA, to the anchor sponsor on his car, millions of dollars a year. So it's very, very difficult. But at the same time, it's a competitive business, and it's a difficult business. And when you've got someone like Connor that is a true unicorn waiting in the wings there, you know, we have to put him in a position where he can be successful and be in the Cup Series and do it with us. So we had to make that move. We've got five I think, races left with Daniel before this year's over. As far as Connor in the Cup Series, the way that he operates, his level of maturity, his intelligence, his preparation, his rate of adaptability, I think that he can come into this, as long as our cars are good enough for him, I think that he can come into this series and be one of these rookies like Kyle Busch and Ryan Newman and Denny Hamlin and these guys that basically just won right away. They figured out how to win right away. So we've got, you know, super, super high hopes for him. It's just a matter of putting him in a position to succeed, be successful.
I have a follow-up question to that.
Yeah.
sticking with that,
I love you jumping in, by the way. I can see the excitement
my
building.
gears are turning, pun intended. I'm what would give, let's say Connor, a competitive advantage? What gives a driver a competitive advantage when everything is so scientific now,
Yeah.
standardized, regulated?
Mhm.
What do you focus on to say, okay, that gives us our best chance?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I mean, it's the variables of success are there's fewer of them than there used to be,
Mhm.
and the margin of error is so small. So those variables are a lot of it's between the ears. A lot of it is just mental approach and how quickly you can learn and adapt in situations. I think to be able to for him to be successful, it's taking the tools that he does have at his disposal, which is the data that we use during the week to prepare for the race weekend, how he communicates with the race team on the feel that he needs out of the race car, what kind of car he likes to drive, and making sure that he's got that warrior mentality, that professional athlete mentality where he doesn't get intimidated by the big names that are going to race him really hard and kind of take him through his initiation to the Cup Series and go out there and just push the button and
Yeah.
make big things happen in big moments. And he's demonstrated, every time he's gotten in a race car since 14 years old that he's able to do those things. It's just
Yeah.
now it's going to get really hard.
You ever talk about the emotional health of the team together? Like you talk about communication and making sure he's taken care of, but there's a whole team around this. There's a chemistry, just
Sure.
probably like a by default chemistry, unless there's a culture that's worked on. Do you focus on culture of your teams as well
Yeah. I bet
to make sure that they're all
Yeah.
in the same?
Culture is a huge part of how I run this team. I mean, we go to we have 182 people that work for this team for 3 race
Jeez.
cars, and I mean, there's like
Gosh.
70 that go to the racetrack,
I
and
don't even.
there's entire working groups of engineers, assemblers, quality control, fabricators, brakes and suspension people, all these people that work at the race shop during the week and don't travel with the race team. And then the race team, you've got the mechanics and the race engineers and the crew chiefs and the pit crews and all this kind of stuff.
Wow.
So
wow.
I think, for me, I think that we're stronger as a cohesive unit. I think that we are stronger as we're stronger going to the racetrack as Trackhouse. And then, towards the end of the races when, all the money's on the line, then everybody kind of races for themselves. But I think that if the drivers can spend time together, if the teams can spend time together during the race week and really share information, it makes the whole operation stronger. And so there's race teams where, the
Their islands.
teams have their own kind of areas in the shop. They have their
Yeah.
own meetings. The crew chiefs are separated from each other. Like we put everybody together.
I like that.
We look at the board and go, all right, here's like 2 different philosophies for how to go to the racetrack this weekend based on how we think the race is going to go. And we decide as a group what team or teams are going to chase one philosophy and what's going to change the others. And even in practice, there's an open intercom line between the teams. So if Ross goes out on the racetrack and he feels something, the crew chiefs are talking to each other.
Everybody knows about it.
Yeah, Ross is a little bit tight with this spring setup that we brought, and so there's like this huge sort of communication thing happening.
It's collaboration.
And I think
absolutely.
it makes the whole company stronger because it's so competitive and there's so
Yeah.
much information to digest really, really quickly
Yeah.
that if you can effectively look at that data set and that information, be able to make quick decisions as a group,
Yeah.
it leads to success.
It's almost like the mechanics, the hardware, so to speak. It's so standardized now that it puts the opportunity and the pressure back on the people.
100%.
Like the people are the ones
100%.
that will pull it through.
Yep.
Because everything else is running the same.
Yeah, it used to be that a team could design a chassis geometry
And-
that was
and
better
cover
than
up a bad
everybody else
culture.
and cover up a bad culture, a place where people didn't want to work, nobody was happy.
Yeah.
But you could still go win a ton of races because your car was just better
Yeah.
than the other cars. You can't do that anymore. Now it's about the people.
I love that.
And even so, speaking a little bit more about that, I think about the pit crews. You mentioned the pit crews a minute ago, talking about how they go to the tracks. Obviously, when this car change happened, you said 2022, they went to the new car, right?
Yep, 22.
I know, like if I close my mind and try to pick, or if I close my eyes and try to picture in my mind, video footage from the 70s and the 80s. I think about pit crew members, pack of Marlboro Reds like
Yeah.
rolled up in their sleeves and buttons undone and just
Yep.
kind of moving around and kind of chaos, the Wild West a little
Yep.
bit. I know they've gotten more important over the years, but has even this change with this car made them even that much more important? I mean, these men and women, are there any women, first of all, in pit
No,
crews? Okay.
one or two.
So
but yeah.
these men, for the most part, are world-class athletes in their own right. Are you guys recruiting them
Yeah.
almost like college
Yeah,
athletics?
this is a great story. So for so many years, those guys that you just mentioned, they were the mechanics on the race car. They would work on the race cars, and then when the race started, they would be the pit crew. They'd go
Okay.
over the wall, and they'd practice a little bit during the week and all that. Well, now we have got dedicated pit crew members. It's what they do. So we have 40 plus pit crew members on our team. So we've got our 3 cars, and then we've got a development crew that is like the B team that other teams will use that don't have their own pit crew department. So they get their reps on Sunday. We have like 5 or 6 guys on our pit crew that played in the NFL. The front tire changer on the 99 car on Daniel's car won the Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos. So, I mean, we 100% are recruiting professional athletes for this. And so,
Sure.
because they understand how to take care of their bodies, they understand body mechanics, how to move, how to recover, all this kind of stuff. And instead of like carrying a football or throwing a baseball or whatever that they did, they're carrying a tire or they're carrying a jack or whatever. So
No kidding.
I wouldn't say that the new car has ratcheted that up as much as the sport has gotten so competitive on the racetrack that pit lane is where you really can make up or lose spots
Every
during
tenth of a
race,
second
every
is-
single one.
Yes.
So I mean, that's the thing is that if we come down pit road for the last pit stop of the day and are in third place and our pit stop is 0.2 of a second faster than first or second, we come off pit road with the lead and we can win the race. I mean,
Yeah,
it makes
yeah.
the difference between winning and losing.
That's a
So
lot of pressure.
God.
we 100%. So we're about to
That's
start
great.
building a new facility for Trackhouse, and we're building out the pit crew department like a D1 college training facility.
Oh,
That's
It's
so
like
cool.
weight rooms and locker rooms and recovery and
Love it.
mindfulness and just all this stuff
Yeah.
because it's and it's becoming more and more popular with these professional athletes because they get out of the league that they're in. They're still 25, 27 years old. They want to find a way to compete, to keep their
Mhm.
bodies up and stay healthy. And NASCAR pit crews are a great place for them to go. So up and down pit road, if you walk up and down pit road before the start of the race and you look at these pit crew guys, I mean, they're 6.5 feet tall
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're just solid muscle and
They might
They're
know.
almost all
They might
professional
know
athletes.
somebody else that's like, oh yeah, we played
Yeah.
against you on the.
Yeah.
whatever.
yeah, for sure.
That's crazy.
And they recruit old teammates of theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They recruit, come work out with Trackhouse.
Right.
Come see if you like it. And a couple of those guys have just shown up going like, I don't even know what a race car is. And 2 or 3 years later, now they're full time going
Yeah.
over the wall for one
Yeah.
of our
Now, will that
teams.
facility be in North Carolina? Or
It'll
is-
be in North Carolina.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
I love
Yeah.
that.
That's exciting.
I want to talk about SVG just a second. So this is as I've thought about it. I want to talk a little bit about like the sport from a fan's perspective. Then I've got a few things I'd love to talk about from the business side of
Yep.
it. This is kind of my last part on sport. SVG, I have loved watching this guy. I have loved it.
Yeah, he's
Uh,
awesome.
And it is, I know you did this intentionally, but I just think it's genius. And I know, like when you were driving, you were kind of a road
Yeah,
course
I was a
ringer.
road course guy, yeah.
You were a road course ringer. And so I am curious how that all came together with him, because obviously that guy in today's sport, making the playoffs, I would assume is just a huge thing
Huge.
for a team.
Yep.
A brand new team launching in 2020, one car in 2021 with Daniel,
Yep,
right?
yep.
And then, so to bring SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen is the guy's name,
Got it.
from New Zealand, right?
Yep.
Comes over here, and the way I understand it, Shane was a supercars racer over there, which
Yep.
is largely road courses, if not
Yep,
all road
Yep,
courses.
all road
right?
courses.
And just dominated the sport over there. I
Yep.
mean, was one of the elite drivers in that sport. How does it come to be that you bring him over here? Because I just go, that is freaking genius. And then, and a little bit apart, I feel like I'm seeing a little bit of controversy this year around that. Some people are going like, well, they're gaming the system, they're cheating, this kind of crap. I look at it as like, you're just playing the game
Yeah.
really smartly.
Yeah.
How did that all come together? And then how does that kind of undertone, is that bothering you, or how are you dealing
It
with it?
doesn't bother me at all. I
Yeah.
mean, so I'll zoom out a little bit here.
Yeah.
So when they showed us the design of the new car, it's basically like a GT car. So before this new car, the bodies were really twisted up on the cars and you drove them sideways. And it was a very, very unique style of driving. And it still is, because the ovals are unique. But I looked at that car and was like, I'll bet that there's some world-class talent in the world somewhere that could come over and be successful in the Cup Series, and that hasn't really been done before. So if you do kind of an audit of all the racing around the world, the closest thing to the NASCAR Cup Series is the Australian Supercar Series. Tube frame cars, power to weight ratio is very similar. And Shane was the guy, 3-time champion over there, one of the best to ever do it. So when NASCAR, so we have this program called Project 91, which is the number 91 car that we field once or twice a year. And Project 91 is about bringing global stars of motorsport to NASCAR. So we launched it in 2022 with Kimi Räikkönen, his 2007 Formula One world champion with Ferrari, and had this big illustrious career in Formula One. We brought him over. In 23, NASCAR announced that for the first time ever, we were racing at a street course, and that was in Chicago. And I was like, all right, none of these guys have ever raced on a street course before. So if there's ever an opportunity to like make something special happen, it's with a supercar driver on a street course, in this Project 91 type deal. So we brought Shane over for that one race, and he won, and he became the first driver in 60 years to win his debut Cup Series race. The last one to do it was Johnny Rutherford in 1963. And working with him, his talent, his intelligence, his personality profile, I was like, this is the guy. So he had another year left on his supercars contract, and I went to him after that race and was like, we're going to kind of like throw a flyer here. Like, is this something that you would consider like moving to America and doing? And he was like, mate, I've won everything that I could win in Australia. I want to go do this thing. I had so much fun.
I love the attempt at the,
no, I got it. He's like, mate, I'm sorry.
So we put him in probably the toughest position that you could put a professional race car driver in the world, which is like, bring a guy that's never raced on ovals, throw him in the Xfinity Series, our Saturday like AAA series for 1 year, and then throw him in the Cup car full time. When he's racing against guys that have been doing this since they were 12 years old on the ovals, and he took to it like a duck to water. Like he really understood the oval track racing very, very quickly. And we had some great sponsorship to support him and a move up to the Cup Series this year with WeatherTech and with Red Bull, and so we moved him up, and he's doing on the road courses this year what we thought he would do. He's doing better than I thought. I mean, I would figure at some point these guys would learn and figure out how to beat him on the road courses, but he's like unbeatable on the road courses. So he's won 4 of them in a row now this year. And
it's incredible.
And to your point, and he's done really great on the ovals. I mean, he ran top 5 at New Hampshire. He finished
he's getting
14th
better
at
on
Richmond.
the ovals.
Like he finished 10th just on Sunday at Kansas. So he's getting a lot better on the ovals. As far as gaming the system, it is huge to get a car in the playoffs. It's big for your sponsors. It's big for the narrative, for promotional narrative, and it's big financially because you get a bump in pay to be able to be a playoff driver. And so you look at a guy like that and go, if this guy can come in and win on the road courses, it alleviates the pressure. He's got time to learn the ovals because he can win on those, get in the playoffs. And then he's not like chasing his playoff spot and trying to learn or whatever. So he did that this year, and we locked him down for another 2 years. He's not a young guy. He's 36. So, I mean, he'll probably do this contract and then move on to his next thing. But it's 100% taking advantage of the structure of the sport that NASCAR's given us right now, which is if you win a race, you're in the playoffs, and that pays big.
What's the controversy? Because of the road course?
Well,
you get points for that
I'll tell
versus an oval.
I'll tell you from a fan's perspective.
Not because he came.
Things that I hear. No, it doesn't.
Came here from.
Nobody
wherever.
cares where he's from. Nobody cares. About that. But it is the fact that because winning a race guarantees you a playoff spot. Winning a regular season race,
any race
guarantees you a playoff spot. Now, in the regular season, there are 4 or 5 road courses.
There's 5.
5, okay.
Yeah.
And Shane comes in and wins.
So there's
4 out of 5 of those.
No other road course opportunity to get a spot.
Nope.
So
because he won them all.
So Shane's 25th in the driver's standings.
Yeah.
And so where the controversy comes from is the playoff system broken where a guy in theory 33rd in the points. that runs last every weekend, wins one race, and now he's in the playoffs, and the worst he can do is 16th in the standings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
That's the
maybe if he
controversy.
only raced
And that's a fair
road,
conversation to have. I think it's
I think so,
yeah,
for sure. Yeah. I think for Shane, it's
but he's
it's
racing all
less
of 'em.
than
Oh, yeah, he's
yeah.
racing
yeah.
all
So
of
it's
them.
not like
I
he
think
just
for Shane,
came
it's
into it.
less because we have so many road courses, and it's such a big part of the championship now that if you can come in and so consistently and predictably dominate on those kinds of tracks, I think that qualifies you as a playoff caliber
I
driver,
agree.
a guy that should
Yeah.
be racing for
I
the
agree.
championship.
Yeah.
I think it's different if you run last every weekend and then you go to Daytona in the summer and everybody crashes out and you're the only car left and
Very
you
fair.
win.
Yeah.
That's maybe a little bit different, but Shane has really been a performer.
Yeah.
And now lately he's been running top 15 on the oval.
Yeah, he's
so,
getting better, man.
So
He's
I
getting
think
better.
next year I think he'll win road courses again, get in the playoffs. But even if he doesn't win a road course race, can be a guy that can compete for the playoff spot just
Yeah.
on points,
Yeah.
just on how he runs.
I want to talk a little bit about Dale Jr. I know you guys have, and I don't fully understand it. I'd love to kind of have you walk us through it. But I think I don't know of any other partnerships that exist like the one that you have with Junior Motorsports, where, if the way I understand it correctly, Junior Motorsports, which fields Xfinity car teams, right?
Yep.
Their drivers Connor is a part of this. Is like almost talent development.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah. Do you look at Junior Motorsports as almost like they're your official AAA team? Is that how
Basically.
that? Okay.
Yeah. That's
How
fair.
did that come to be?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's not in our business plan to launch race teams in the Truck Series, the Xfinity Series, or anything like that. So when we have a need to use those series for talent development and also sponsor development too, we've got some sponsors that want to have rights to our drivers, be a part of Trackhouse, but can't afford to go to the Cup Series, or they want to try NASCAR before they grow to the Cup Series.
Yeah.
We need to have a team or a destination that we can work with to put those guys there. So we signed Connor when he was 17 and he hadn't, or really 16 maybe, but he hadn't driven an Xfinity Series yet. So we went to Dale and was like, hey, I need a full-time car for 2025, and I need a part-time car for 2025. So we did a deal with them where basically we share the financial responsibility of that car, and we put our drivers in it. So we took
And that comes with sponsorships.
yeah,
You're
so
bringing
we took
sponsors to the
WeatherTech
table.
sponsorship and Connor to that car,
Gotcha.
and then whenever WeatherTech's not on that car, it's a Junior Motorsports sponsor. So it's like Carolina Carports and KOA, some of the other ones you've seen. And then with Ross and SVG and Daniel in the part-time car, we have sponsors that want to be able to sponsor specific races or be able to sponsor specific drivers, but there's no room in the Cup Series anymore.
Mm.
So Quaker State with Daniel at Mexico won the race on Saturday. We put
Yeah.
Daniel in that car, SVG at some road courses, and Ross at Darlington and Dover and a couple of races too. So yeah, it's 100% like a talent and business development relationship.
Yeah. Is there any other relationship in NASCAR that exists like the one that you two have?
No, because most of the bigger teams do it in-house. Like Richard
Ah.
Childress Racing has their own in-house Xfinity
yep,
team. Hendrick's
gotcha.
doing it in-house now. Gibbs has it in-house, and we just don't really want to build an Xfinity business.
Yeah.
So it's just easier to kind of outsource it. We don't really make any money, but it's
Mm-hmm.
okay because we're just developing for our Cup Series program. So a great way to describe it is that it's basically our AAA team.
Sponsorship, it's come up a lot. I think it's a huge part of the sport that goes without saying. I am curious on the business side, like when you guys evaluate sponsorships or partnerships with brands that are outside the sport, how do you think about, because when I look at it, I go, okay, I would think a company is coming into the sport hoping that they can align themselves with a team or a driver that's going to grow their brand. I'll tell you from a fan's perspective, a lot of times I look at teams and drivers and I evaluate whether or not I'm going to root for them based on who's on the car.
Mm.
I look at the paint schemes. I look at like, oh, is this a cool looking car? For whatever reason, I'm drawn to a Bass Pro, car. And so a lot of times I go, are they really rooting for Chase or are they rooting for a Bass Pro car? And I think a lot of people in the sport, some fans at least, think
Yeah.
about that. How do you guys evaluate? Do you think about how this driver is going to fit with a particular
Yeah.
brand. Do you think about how is this brand going to come to life on a paint scheme, on a wrap scheme? Like, how do you guys think about all that?
Well, so we establish categories,
Mhm.
right? So industry and categories. So, quick service restaurants, insurance, technology, consumer packaged goods. A big part of it's very hard to sell sponsorship these days because there's so many places that brands can spend their money,
Yeah.
especially in sports. So you have to come with a value proposition that is very consistent with their marketing strategy and the story that they're trying to tell. And it's been a strategy of Trackhouse from day one to have drivers that have great stories, are super unique, and resonate in the marketplace among brands.
Mm.
And you see that when you see our cars. So when you look at Ross Chastain, 8th generation watermelon farmer,
Yeah.
Very blue collar guy, grew up farming. His sponsors are Busch Light,
Yeah.
Kubota tractors, the Moose Lodge, and Jockey. And then you look at Daniel, and Daniel's, Freeway Insurance, which is an insurance provider for the Latin community in America, and Coca-Cola and their entire, Latin marketing initiative and everything. And then with SVG, big part of it's Red Bull. Like Red Bull's excited about the international athletes and all this kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
so we absolutely, curate our driver lineup and our entire strategy as a business
Mm.
to be consistent with as many companies as possible out there that are looking to invest in the sport. Now, NASCAR used to be a blue chip company sport. So because it was the second biggest sport in America behind the NFL, like when it was at its zenith in like the 90s and 2000s.
The Home Depots,
And so
the
you had Home
FedExes.
Depot
Yeah.
and Procter and Gamble and
Yeah.
all the beer companies were there and DuPont and all this kind of stuff. Well, NASCAR has become a little bit more of a niche sport and a little bit more of a challenger sport. So now it's less of a place for those brands and more for brands that are growing rapidly and disrupting in their space. So instead of
Interesting. Yeah.
the biggest brands in the space, it's the smaller ones that are growing rapidly that need brand recognition are coming to the sport right now. So it actually it puts us in a spot where it's a very target-rich environment for
Yeah.
sponsors because there's so many companies out there that want to get involved and grow their brand and all that kind of stuff. So I think for a company, for a race team like look, I think about us as we're a race team, but I personally think about Trackhouse as a marketing services provider.
Yeah.
That's how I think about our company. We're a
Super
marketing
smart.
services provider. We just happen to do it through race cars.
Mhm.
And so that's a huge part of what we do. And it's why we've got drivers in our cars that are great stories and
Yeah.
that just resonate with the people that our sponsors are trying to reach and talk to.
I love it. Winston, I think we need to do a lightning round.
Let's do
You
it.
want to roll into that?
I would love to.
Justin, we've just got a handful of questions. These are easy. You're not going to have to put a lot of thought into any
Okay.
of these. Just kind of fun things. You mentioned you were born in St. Louis. There's a big debate in the South about whether or not Missouri is part of the South. What's your hot take on it?
My wife should answer that question, but the answer is no. I mean, we've talked about it. Look, I was born in St. Louis. I've got family in Southeast Iowa and Western Illinois, and it's very much a Midwestern family that I grew up with, just up and down the Mississippi River up there.
There you
But
go.
having spent all my years in North Carolina and married a girl from the Deep South,
Yeah.
It is not the
Missouri
South.
doesn't-
It ain't the
no,
South.
It is
ain't the
settled.
South.
It's
It's
settled.
settled.
We thought we settled it earlier,
Justin
but now,
settled it.
now Justin agrees.
They don't
with
argue
us.
with us
That's
anymore.
right. You take the next. We'll
Waffle
just
House.
back and forth.
Waffle House or Cracker Barrel?
Waffle House.
Amen, brother.
Waffle
so
House.
fast.
My wife and I go and we've had Christmas meals on Christmas Day at the Waffle House, and
Yeah.
when we go visit her father down there outside of Athens, it's we got to hit the Waffle House.
Do you have a
every
go-to
time.
order?
Yeah.
I like the hash browns with cheese on.
Okay.
I love 'em.
Just simple.
Yeah,
All right.
easy. Yep.
Potatoes and cheese, man. One word to describe Dale Jr. Just
Um,
one.
Steward. He's a steward
that's
of
interesting.
the history of
Interesting.
the sport, and
It's interesting.
yeah, he's a steward of
It's
the
a great
sport.
word.
Yeah.
Do you like mayonnaise?
I don't hate
Is that a
mayonnaise.
weird question?
No. Is that it?
If do you like it enough to have a go-to brand?
Are you particular
Hellman's.
about your man? Oh,
Hellman's.
Is
Get
that
out.
bad?
Get out.
Hellman's is a bit. Well, see, this is where the marketing services person comes in.
Oh,
because
because
Hellman's
help
is
us-
a big
help him.
sponsor
That's right.
of Junior Motorsports.
You know what?
And they're on that Connor
hey,
Silage.
we get what he's doing.
Oh.
Hellman's,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
but it's really Dukes.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, this is a good one.
Winston has never been to a race. Now I grew up around
I'm
it.
sorry. I
My-
apologize.
My dad
Yet.
took me to Talladega a few times, and then I've been to Bristol a few times, been to Nashville a couple times, but Winston's never been to a race.
I'm just not a complete man yet.
I want to take him to his very first race. Which is the race that you think we should go to?
100% Talladega, Alabama.
Amen,
100%.
brother.
Especially
Amen.
living in Nashville because it's right down Highway 65. And,
Let's do it.
you know, when people come, like I've got investors in Trackhouse. We had a private equity sports fund out of New York City come and invest in our company. And these guys had never been to a race before. And they're like, which one should we come to kind of learn about NASCAR? I was like, you got to come to Talladega. And
There
I
you
took them
go.
out to the Boulevard on Saturday night. And the whole experience, I mean, it is NASCAR Mardi Gras.
Okay, dude.
It's unbelievable.
NASCAR Mardi Gras.
The scene is incredible. The fans and just the energy and everything.
Yeah.
And then the races. It's the biggest track we go to. It's wide open. It's 195, 200 miles an hour.
She's flying.
It's
All right,
just it's
sign me up.
Always waiting for the big one.
See you next year.
Yeah.
Any family heirlooms that you have been passed or that you cherish and intend to pass down to in your family?
Oh, that's a good question. My so my maternal grandfather is the one that introduced me to racing. So when I grew up, he was the one that would take me to the dirt tracks in Illinois and Iowa, and that the love of racing came from my relationship with my grandfather. And there's two things. One is I've got an oil lamp that he had since he was a young boy that I got, and then he went and got a 1953 Chevy pickup truck he bought from a guy out in Illinois, and then brought it to California. My mom had it restored. It's now sitting in the garage here in
No.
Nashville. So
Yeah.
those two things, because
Yeah, that's strong.
it's a link to my grandfather, who was such a central figure in my life and took me to the racetrack and took me fishing. So that oil lamp and that truck will be in my grandkids'
That's so
house one day.
strong. I love that.
Driver or owner? Which one is more exciting to you?
Oh man, which one is more exciting? I mean, there's nothing like racing a race car. I mean, there's nothing like. Yeah, I was fortunate enough in 2018 to race in the Daytona 500, and I remember rolling off a pit road for the pace laps and looking up at the people in the stands and the celebrities that were there and the flyover, and I just thought, you know, there's nothing cooler in the world than pulling off pit road at a NASCAR race behind the wheel.
Yeah.
Just nothing. Plus,
know,
somebody else has to do all the IT and HR and finance stuff and everything.
I do wonder.
It's true.
You'll probably know this. So my wife years ago, this has been 15 years ago, bought me one of these, get behind the wheel experiences. So I went out to Nashville and they put me in a car with there were probably 7 other people on the track. And I mean, I think we did 120 miles an hour, maybe something like that. How much different is it what I did compared to what these guys are doing every day?
Yeah,
Or every Sunday.
It's different.
It's different.
It's different.
Yeah.
It's different when you're like.
He's
I
like,
mean,
you're cute, bro.
When look, when in 2007, I was in a series called the ARCA series, and in 2007, the ARCA series we were basically racing the current Cup cars, but the rule book was a lot smaller, and so we could do a lot more to make these things just total hot rods. And I went to Michigan International Speedway, big high bank 2-mile speedway. We had an engine deal, a Dodge engine deal through Penske, and they brought a Cup engine, and I was doing some development work for their test engine. And this thing was like crazy. And at the end of the front straightaway, I think going into turn 1, I was like in qualifying trim 211 miles an hour.
Good.
And on the minimum speed was 178. It was the slowest the car got in the middle of the corner. And going back wide open, spinning the tires off the corner because it had so much horsepower at that speed. And that's just a whole different.
Yeah.
It's just a whole different game.
It's different. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. He's mocking me.
expected that.
Yeah, I
You expected
100% did. I did
Plus-
not think he was going to
plus,
go, yeah, you were real close.
when
man.
you do those experiences, like you feel the banking, you feel the force,
Yeah.
things, but it's also, doing it for 3 hours,
Oh.
where you have to do strategy, you're coming on and off pit road, like all
I
that
did
kind of
12
stuff.
laps
Is a whole,
or
yeah, it's a
something.
incredible.
whole new,
It was
another
over.
game.
It was way over.
Yeah.
Okay, when you don't have the Trackhouse hat on, when you're away from the business, what kind of things give you life and energy?
For a long time, it was the outdoors. I did a lot of climbing, like high altitude mountaineering. I climbed in South America and Nepal and
no
in
kidding.
Canada and everything. But honestly, nowadays, I'm like fully a girl dad.
Yeah.
And so it's like gymnastics and it's like
Yeah.
watching my girls grow up and do their thing. Like when I
the
can get
best.
away from the racing and just be a dad,
Yeah.
that's just what it's all about.
Well,
for
they're
me.
blessed to have you.
Thank you.
All right, that's kind of the end of the lightning round, Winston.
That was a
We're
great
gonna-
one.
We're going to put that one in the books. Justin, you've mentioned that you married a Georgia girl. Very wisely, I might add.
She brought him to Nashville.
That's true.
think that
that's
was
what I'm
her
saying.
idea.
She's a
I
smart
told
woman.
myself growing up when I was like 12 years old, growing up in California, I was like, I am going to marry a Southern girl.
Amen.
One day I'm going to.
They're the prettiest in the world,
They're
dude.
the
You can
best.
fight me on that.
They're
like,
the
You're
best.
raised
100%.
right.
Your father to 2 girls. How, I would imagine being in your line of work is pretty stressful. It's demanding. You're traveling a lot. How does doing what you do, how does that impact you as like a husband and a father?
Well, I would say I couldn't do it if my wife didn't understand the game. If she didn't understand that, my wife and I met at a racetrack. We met on pit road at Salem Speedway in Indiana. She was there with some of her friends, and her dad, raced locally in North Georgia. And I think, without her being fully invested in what this vision and what I'm trying to accomplish is, and the fact that, we dated, we got married, we had kids the whole time we were going to the racetrack all the time, and she understood how driven I was and how badly I wanted. Without that, it just wouldn't be possible because there's times when I'm not present because there is a lot of travel. I'm gone 3 to 4 days a week, and so I think the big thing is that what she told me was, I am never going to give you a hard time for leaving. I'm never going to give you a hard time for traveling. It's a lot of work with the girls, but I'm never going to give you a hard time as long as you just put the work in to be present when you're here and just try to be present when you can. Put the phone down when you can.
Yeah.
Go to gymnastics and sit and watch her practice for an hour or two if you can, all that stuff. So I think it's prioritizing what you allocate your presence to and your time to, and making sure that, my girls know that dad travels a lot. And so when dad's home, it's important for me to be there, which I'm not perfect at. And I'm trying to get better all the time, but it's something that's very, very important to me.
That's beautiful, man.
I love
Well
that.
said.
Yeah. You've worn a lot of hats in your life. You've been a driver, you've been an entrepreneur, team owner, all these things. Are there personal values that you've developed through the years that kind of keep you driven to be the best at what you're doing?
That's a great question, man. I mean, I have always tried to treat people well. I have always tried to treat people well and fairly, to the point where sometimes it's even like hurt the business, just, hanging on to people longer than you should and all that aren't a good fit for the company. But, I think it's a small world. It's a small world that we live in, and there's no dress rehearsal, and you get one shot at it. And I think, I've been fortunate a number of times in my career, in my life, to have gotten opportunities because I treated people well in the past, and that there's way more doors open for me than there are that are
Amen.
closed. And I think that's something that's very, very important to me. Being selfless, checking ego at the door, recognizing in a very visible industry, you're like a team owner in NASCAR, you're a visible person, but recognizing every day that it's not about you, it's not about me. I've got 182 people that do the work and make this thing possible, and not forgetting that is really important, because then people think about you when they think about opportunities, or they think about access, or they think about these things. They think about you because they like you and they respect you, and that ultimately is just going to create less resistance in your path in life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You mentioned 182 people that work for the team. Something that we've been talking more about, I think, is stewardship. It's interesting you brought that word up when we were talking about Dale Jr. and we were like, oh, that's interesting because we've been talking about that word a lot here lately. As you are leading a team of 182 people just on the racing side, right? Because
Yep.
you got MotoGP, you got
Yep.
other
Yeah.
things you do. Do you think about stewarding this company, stewarding these relationships well? Does stewardship ever even come into like how you think about running that company?
Um, you know, uh, I think about the responsibility of promoting a sport. I think about the responsibility of having a positive narrative and putting out into the world the positive things that we're doing
Yeah.
and how much we love the sport and how much we appreciate the opportunity that we have. But I think, inside the walls of the building, it's really about my personal connection with the workforce,
Yeah.
my personal connection with people. Like when I go to the race shop during the week, I usually go on Tuesdays, and there's a lot of you're getting pulled in a lot of different directions just because I'm not there every day. But I really focus on being on the shop floor and talking to people and being kind of like a
Yeah.
present owner. I don't know that stewardship, but it's we do have in our DNA, we do have a collective responsibility to be good stewards of the sport. And there's a lot of drama happening in NASCAR right now with this lawsuit between two of the teams in NASCAR, and we're fighting for a place among the consumers in America. We want people to watch the races. There's a lot of competition for eyeballs right now. We have to be working in lockstep with NASCAR to tell a great story and support the sport and lift up the sport and be
Yeah.
good stewards of the sport.
Man.
Yeah.
I only have a couple more here, Winston. I'm
No worries. This is good.
I think of NASCAR as being a sport where things go wrong a lot.
Yep.
You're blowing tires, you're running in the wall, somebody's wrecking you. I go back to Connor climbing out of that car, and I mean, in the blink of an eye, the kid is laying what looked to me like unconscious
Yep.
for a while. I mean, when they cut away, I was like, this might not be good. And it ended up being a collarbone, right?
Yep.
And so we're grateful, got it repaired, back in the car pretty quickly. When things go wrong in this business, that I feel like looking from the outside is a business where things go wrong all the time.
Mm-hmm.
How do you mentally kind of handle that or bounce back from those things?
I mean, I think life is about navigating the obstacles. All right. I mean, like we're all problem solvers every day. And I think with our sport in particular, growth comes from the obstacles. It comes from the things that don't go your way. And I think you have to approach those as learning opportunities. I think if you don't approach those times as learning opportunities, it's a wasted opportunity. And so, when it's things we have control over, like how we're going to the racetrack and preparing, if we put 6 or 7 weeks together where we're really not running good, the sponsors are upset, they're asking why are we not on TV, all that kind of stuff, using that as an opportunity to really learn and grow from is probably the greatest gift I think that we have in life, and it's certainly in our business. So I approach those all. There's a great book called "The Obstacle is the Way," and it talks about this. It talks about how when things don't go your way, that's actually where the magic is made. That's
Push into
actually
that.
where the
Yeah.
growth comes from, where the transcendence comes from, and all of that. So I lean into those as great learning experiences. And now when I can look back on it, I wouldn't change the things that didn't go the way I wanted them to go for anything, because it made us better, it made us stronger, and it pushed our company forward. So I welcome that. I used to be afraid of it and run from it, and now I react much less emotionally when things don't go our way, and much more like, okay, so this is the thing that's happening. How can we make the most of it? How can we sort of flip the script in our advantage? So I think they're just great opportunities to learn and grow.
I love that.
That's fantastic.
Here's my final question for you. Why in the heck did you say yes to do this? We're always curious, and finally we were like, let's just start asking them.
Yeah.
What made you even say yes to give us an hour of your time?
Yeah, well, so I admire entrepreneurs and and leaders of companies that are out in front of their companies, that are out talking about their mission and talking about what they're trying to accomplish in the world and what's special about what they do. And, you know, the podcast platform is one of the most powerful in America because we can sit and have these conversations and we can talk in detail about all these things about who I am and who our company is and everything. And, you know, I think ultimately it's nice to talk to people that are here in Nashville with me because so much of our industries in Charlotte, North Carolina. And, you know, if there's people that listen to the show and are intrigued by what they hear and interested in the sport and ultimately become a Trackhouse fan, that's great. Plus, it's just nice to sit and talk to good people about things that I'm passionate about.
Amen. I love it.
Yeah.
I think I'm the first Trackhouse fan of the podcast so far.
That you through
Definitely
this
got a hat.
conversation,
You've already
you're
got a
like,
hat.
I know you've
I'm
already got a hat. Bro.
definitely in. So, you know.
All right. Okay. Okay. I just want to.
Well, hey, you've always got a pit pass at Talladega whenever you're ready.
What,
Just give me a call.
Yeah, brother.
Man, the
let's
Mardi
make
Gras of
that.
NASCAR. I got to go.
I know. We're gonna have to. What time of year is that? A May race?
There's one in April. And there's
April.
one in October. So there's one coming up.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That's
yeah,
fun.
we need to make Talladega happen,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, we do.
It's the one I remember sitting in the grandstands with my dad, and you know we went. I think he took me twice. Just hot as blue blazes.
Mhm.
So I must have been at the earlier race.
I love taking people that have never been to a NASCAR race at Talladega because when that field comes by the first
Oh,
time,
my
they're
gosh.
just like,
What is
It's-
this?
They're like,
it's
"Are you
unbelievable.
I
kidding
can't
me?"
imagine.
It's
It's
incredible.
unforgettable.
It's incredible.
Yeah, this has been an absolute treat. It's been a pleasure. We appreciate
Yeah,
you giving
thank
us your
you.
time. If somebody's out there watching this and they're like, "Man, this is cool, dude. How can I learn more about? How can they learn more
Where do they go?
about you, about Trackhouse? What's the best way to do that?"
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it's all on social media. I mean, Trackhouse Racing, Trackhouse MotoGP on social media. I'm at Justin Marks TH on Instagram. I don't do Twitter anymore. And yeah, I mean, we tell our stories here. We have a great content team that's always giving
Great
updates to
content
everything that's
team.
going on. And that's social media is
Man.
just where the conversation's happening now.
After every daggum race, I'm like, I got to go see the
Yeah.
photos, these people, the videos, because you do just a great job of putting
Thank
together
you.
stuff.
This weekend
Great.
we're doing something cool. They're gonna mic me up on Sunday, and they're gonna basically do a whole behind the scenes thing where it shows my whole Sunday morning,
Oh,
like
I
talking to
love
the team,
that.
the drivers, the pit
Love
crew
that.
before the race, all that stuff.
That's
So
it.
it'll be cool.
Yeah. All right.
down
I
for
wish
that.
I wish I had like a Ross Chastain shirt under this that
You
I
need
could rip
to,
this
Hey,
one
I
off.
like
right
Austin.
there.
Oh,
It's
that
a
would be
Chevrolet,
nice.
so that works.
Yeah, I
What
know.
if you did? Yeah.
Wouldn't that be
We got to
cool?
update your wardrobe.
I know. This is.
I know a guy, so we'll
I'm
get you set
I'm
up.
getting rid of this hunk
Come
of
on,
junk
man.
my-
Come on.
I need somebody who can get me to the winner's circle. You know, that's what I want.
Well, we got a road course this weekend, and SVG's odds-on favorite in Vegas.
I
so-
was gonna say you got to be excited about the Roval.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, super
there's
excited.
a really good chance you're in victory lane this week.
Yep. Yeah. We've won 5 races this year, so make it 6, which would be incredible. And then
blast.
we've got some drama around Ross. He's, I think, 13 or 18 points below the cut line. This is
Okay.
a cutoff race, so
He's gonna have a big race.
He's gonna have to. Yeah, it's
Yep.
gonna be tough. But
Well, Justin, thank you.
Thank
I mean, it's great to meet you. I love that you're local, and it's worked out great. So I appreciate your
Awesome.
time.
thanks for having me.
That's it. Thanks for coming in, and keep coming back here.
Hey, thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to check out the other videos on our channel and make sure you like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos.
And if you're tired of seeing our faces talk, you can go the audio only route and catch us on Apple and Spotify. If you do that, be sure to subscribe, give us a rating and a review so that we can reach more people.
See y'all next week.